Hello and welcome to All Villa No Filler, a podcast all about Aston Villa, the world's greatest football team as ever. Please remember to subscribe to the show, follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So, Villa was stung by the bees of Brentford on Saturday to mark a concerning start to the season. We'll get to all that in a minute. And the spicy question is back after a warm summer away, a spicy summer indeed for Frankie. How are you, Frankie? You were at the game. Did you have a spicy summer, first of all?
Yeah, it's as spicy as ever, as in like the most boring person alive. Just sits around, watches a lot of Villa content, doesn't go out
You're just
much.
a man in his mid to late 30s. This is just the life of a man of someone your age.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thrilling and exciting. It's very, very spicy indeed. I went to the game today. Always love away days, kind of even no matter what happens somehow. But yeah, it was as bad as the result was. It got even worse when I got home because there's a bloody covers band at the pub literally next door to where I live doing Robbie Williams like slow piano ballad versions, and it's difficult. I can't hear Angels being sung in that way. It's just it's difficult.
Yeah,
it's just put a little bit of. It's like a cocktail that's been a bad cocktail today, and they've just added an ingredient that makes it even worse.
Angels is sort of like last song at a uni night out.
Yeah,
and it brings back all the memories of just terrible nights.
The lights go up, and you can see all the blemishes on your face. You can see how drunk everyone is.
Oh man, what looked worse? Your best mate when Angels came on and the lights flickered on in a dingy club in Sheffield where you went to uni, or Villa this afternoon.
What looked better? What looked worse? Villa, definitely. Yeah, a little bit more concerning.
Well, okay. Well, let's not beat around the bush. Come on, tell me, how bad was it?
As bad as a Robbie Williams piano ballad being done in the bloody pub next door. Look, I think the way to describe it is the vibes are off. The vibes are off. You can feel it if you're online enough on Villa World that something doesn't feel right, and something hasn't felt right since probably the Crystal Palace semi-final defeat and the Manchester United debacle on the last day of last season, where at Palace we were too narrow, got destroyed. Really felt like we were on course to win a trophy. We'd had a brilliant season, we'd had a great Champions League run, and then we just got destroyed by Palace. And then final day of the season, again, we've been on a brilliant run, and then the final day of the season, we go into the game, and within 2 minutes, Ollie Watkins is standing on the halfway line when the Man United goalkeeper has the ball. We're not putting any pressure on. We're far too defensive. Allow Man United to play the way into confidence, and should have been 3-0 up by the time that Emi Martinez got sent off. And I think that performance, as well as the frustrations over the horrendous refereeing decision that was made, it feels like that sort of put a cloud over the summer, and it feels like that has led to then added to the frustrations of PSR, SCR, UEFA football earnings, like all these different bloody accounting terms that we sadly have to know and think about. It feels like that has carried on through the summer. We've not really been able to make the kind of really exciting signings to get everyone's juices flowing, and unfortunately we've had to lose key player. We've lost Jacob Ramsey. Not lost too many key players, but we've lost, Jacob Ramsey was probably the main one. And then we've also cleared out a lot of dead wood who were given contracts that shouldn't have been given 2 or 3, 4 years ago. So it feels like now that we're coming into this season, the lack of sort of positivity felt or excitement felt over the summer. And then you go into that Jacob Ramsey sale and you see what the players said online. You see what Damian Vidagari said online. Something felt off with all that, even. And then you go into kind of the first 2 games of the season. You go to this one against Brentford, a team who played like a team who were trying to survive on the last day of the season. And you can't help but feel that you're watching a team and thinking, it's like kind of lethargy. It feels like a team that looks like it's a bit stagnant, and a team that in truth has progressed incredibly far, incredibly fast under Unai Emery, probably ahead of schedule. But then on top of that, because of the way in that final Perzo Gerrard era year, a lot of the contracts we handed out, in the last 2-3 years, we've not really had the opportunity to really kind of revolutionize the squad, maybe in the way it needed to be done a year ago, probably needed to be done this summer. And now we're looking at the first 11 and we're looking at a lot of players where you're thinking, you were starting under Dean Smith, you were starting under Steven Gerrard. And look, I still feel confidence for this season. I still feel good. I see a lot of people are starting to worry that we're in relegation trouble. No, but I sort of think the comparison I would make is that I talked earlier about how I feel like Villa having a team that there's the continuity can help us, and I still think it can. But there is also, on the other flip side of that, you look at Tottenham when they were riding high under Pochettino, and I think it was the summer they'd got to the Champions League final, and the summer after that they didn't sign a single player, and they did stagnate in the season after. They had quite a bad spell after. I think Poch left actually. I'm not sure that's not what happens. So with Villa, it feels like a little bit the flip side of the continuity is that you also kind of risk stagnating a bit and not maybe getting in the players to refresh things in a way that you probably need to. I suppose it feels a little bit like we're looking at a team that just feels a bit stagnant right now.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose what I would push back on there is, because of the PSR and other financial stipulations that are in place, I understand the need to refresh the squad and bring in new players and all the rest of it. But if you can't find a better player, or in better terms, afford a better player than Ollie Watkins, a better goalkeeper than Emi Martinez, then why would you let Ollie Watkins or Emi Martinez go? Do you kind of know what I mean? I feel like if we're going to let players of that quality go, if we feel like we need to because they've been here for a number of years and we just need to refresh the squad in some way, we need to improve on them. But to improve on an Ollie Watkins or an Emi Martinez, you need to spend a lot of money, which we don't have.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, looking at today's game, I mean, you could see. I mean, there's a few question marks I've got over it. Really, the setup from the start, I just was surprised. I thought Boubacar Kamara would go back into that right centre back role. He's played it before. Just stick him in there because he's comfortable on his right foot. I didn't think Mings looked massively comfortable on that right side, even though I thought I just didn't. There were two things that reminded me of. One, we've conceded goals like that before where we've been on top and it's just a straight ball over the top, like Fulham last season when was it Muniz bullied Pau Torres and scored. Very similar today, just a straight ball over the top from the goalkeeper and scored a goal. And if you're going to play a team who's going to play like they're fighting relegation already this early in the season with 6 at the back all day, firstly, if they've got a bunch of players who are 8 foot tall in central defence, don't keep crossing the ball into the box. Get to the byline and cut it back. Be more incisive. And then secondly, if you're going to play a team that's 6 at the back, don't concede a stupid bloody goal early in the game. It's as simple as the one we did. Because if you do, well, then it's perfect for them because they'll just do what they have to do. They'll just sit back all day. And Villa, unfortunately, just did not look like we had the imagination to find a way through that.
Also, if you're going to have a high defensive line like that, don't stick it. I know we were limited because Konsa was suspended, but Torres is slow and Mings is pretty slow. Do you know what I mean? Thiago's looks quite pacey. They've got a bit of pace about them. Tara as well, obviously, quite quick. It seems it was very straightforward, wasn't it? It was like ball over the top, and then their forwards player was just quicker than Torres.
It was just unbelievable. As soon as I saw it bounce on the floor, I thought, "Oh no, we're in trouble here." And then, lo and behold, they get through and score. But it just, I think the thing it felt to me was like there was a few things I thought John McGinn on the right, like what are we aiming for here? Because he's going to cut back on his left all the time and crosses. Fulham, Brentford do actually tend to concede a lot of goals if you just overload them at the back post, but we never seem to do anything about that. Matty Cash suddenly on corners, okay. A lot of long throws into the box against a team that are 8 foot tall on average, like a bunch of blokes who've walked down north of the wall in Game of Thrones. It just felt like there were things that were like, it's not the most logical approach. And then like, even when but then even when we got Marlon on, I thought Marlon didn't do anything when he was on
No.
the right. I thought, right, there's going to be width here now. The only positive I genuinely have from today, the only one, is Gesson looked bright, unpredictable, could take on 3 players, get to the byline, make things happen. So it felt to me like he's going to be a guy who has some special moments this season and clearly looks like the kind of talent that all the European podcasts were raving about when Villa signed him. So I think we do hopefully hopefully signed quite a unique talent there. But on the whole, though, like just it was Villa were flat, predictable, and
I mean, I suppose what the big takeaway I think from this, from you and from other Villa fans, is we lacked pace, directness, impetus, and we have players who aren't playing who have those qualities. So Maatsen, Marlon again on the bench, and obviously that's a big bugbear for a lot of Villa fans. The fact he's not starting game despite being on, despite signing for relatively big money in the last season. The expectation was at the start of this season he would be integrated. As so often with Emery signings, he's integrated the following season or a few months into it, and 2 games in, both started on the bench, which is, I know when he came on, he didn't have the impact that he has had in the past, but you'd like to see him maybe start a few more games. And Maatsen as well, as a left back, he's very explosive, very very attack minded. Has scored goals at the tail end of last season, looked really promising. We spoke at the start of this season the expectation that him and Onana would start more games. Obviously, Onana started the last 2, but not Maatsen. Gesson, I know, will have to take time to bed in, as we talked. He looked promising. There were players there that have those qualities, and it took a long time for them to come onto the pitch, despite the fact that we were looking for that goal and looking for the qualities that they offer. Very confusing, I guess.
It was.
We don't often criticize Emery, but it was confusing
No.
that we were sort of like, okay, the second half started much brighter than the first, and we sort of had a lot more of the ball. We had a lot of the ball anyway, but we were at least trying to do something with it a lot more.
Yeah.
But the players that we needed to kind of like create those actual moments in front of goal were on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think Rodgers had a really poor game, really poor, and not for the first time. I've been talking.
Both games have been poor.
I feel like I've been talking about this probably ad nauseum. I think he's a player who has the talent to one day play for whoever he wants. But I have noticed, I keep hearing people saying he's best central, do all this. And I keep thinking to myself, I think, well, the reason Asensio and central is because Asensio retains the ball better than Rodgers does. And the amount of times today where Rodgers would, and this is when Rodgers is brilliant when he gets past you, he takes you on and he's direct, and he picks out a really clever pass, or you're on the break and he, finds a pass.
Yeah, he needs to have a bit like space to run into.
Yes, but sometimes like it's just like it's like he's turned his man and then he's holding on to it. And it's like, smack pass. Or like today, like in the first 5 minutes, he beat his man brilliantly. He's running on towards the area. Brentford's defender coming back, and he passes it out left. He won't be on the highlights. There'll be no highlights of it. But I thought to myself, why don't you just cut inside and have a smack it? Because you can finish from distance. I don't know. It just feels a little bit like he's. I don't know. Like maybe just a bit low on confidence at the moment. Maybe just not quite right at the moment in the way that we know he can be. So that's certainly something to watch out for. I think is his form. And look, I mean, all it'll take could just be a really good home performance where he blows someone away, and it's like, oh, great, okay, we're fine. But you can't deny, that watching these last 2 games, there's things that you look at and think, A, this is quite stodgy, and B, the bench. You look at it and you think, oh, okay. It's not. It's just
2 keepers.
Yeah,
couple of youth players.
And again, that's kind of where PSR comes back into it, and SCR, and what sort of squad we're allowed to have within Europe. And yeah, that's going to be definitely something to think about. But look, I mean, Villa just have to. This is the way it is, and hopefully in the next week or 2 there will be some movement in. Hopefully, I mean, maybe
Emery
one or 2
seemed to
after today might
suggest
be out as well.
after the game that he's sort of obviously still, they were still in the market, and if we can bring in a couple of players, then that that will hopefully make a little bit of a difference. But you're right, we just need a spark. There's no spark.
This is something Jacob Tanswell wrote on Twitter. Obviously, was in the news conference with Unai Emery after the game, and Emery said we have to improve things. We have to clarify some circumstances we have in the transfer window. We have enough players, but we need to clarify some circumstances with some players staying or not, and the possibility we can have to add someone to help us. So he's clearly suggesting that. This is going to be an interesting one. I'd ask you, George. Does he sound like somebody who desperately wants to refresh the squad, and that were he not on a massive contract, there'd be questions over whether he'd actually even stay? Because if the squad can't be refreshed, well then, he wants to win Champions Leagues. That's who he is. And
yeah, no, of course, and I get that, and as you said at the start, a lot of the players that are still first team regulars aren't his players. Whether he's wanted to get rid of them or not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, perhaps that's part of it. That he hasn't been able to refresh the squad as much as he would like to because of the financial constraints on Villa at the moment. I mean, to be honest, he's been, from my take of what he's said in recent weeks and months, he's been very philosophical about the financial situation. He's just been saying, well, it is what it is, and we've got to work within the constraints of that. We know what they are. We've been dealing with them for a couple of seasons now. Nothing is going to change currently with how things are, so we've just got to sort of manage it as best we can. I don't think there's been a few people who have said that they're wondering if Emery is questioning his position at Villa because of the constraints that are on him in the transfer market. I'm not so sure that's the case. I think he likes. I get the vibe that he likes the challenge. He knows Villa are still a big club. He knows Villa still have the players to be competitive at the top end of the table. They do have to think smart in the transfer market, but he's surrounded by people he trusts and who trust him. We've said before in this show that he's not going to find, or he's going to struggle to find, another club who have been as supportive of him as they could possibly be. And if they could be more supportive of him in the transfer market, they would be. They just can't. So it's not the club that are letting him down here. It's the rules of football. It's the rules of the Premier League which are hurting him. It's not Villa. So I think he still has a loyalty to the club. I just think, it's just a situation that sucks, but we're not the only club who's going through it. Newcastle are at the moment. I'm sure other clubs in the future, Everton have been. I'm sure other clubs in the future will be too. So it is what it is. But we're still a competitive club. I know the first two games haven't gone to plan so far this season, but I'm confident, as you say, in the next couple of days we'll have some more players coming and going. And then I think all managers will be happy, particularly in the last week of a transfer window, for it to close and just be like, right, this is my squad until at least January. At least we now have just all of the players I have are settled. They know they're going to stay for at least the next few months. So we'll just now work with what we have. In that statement he made that Jacob Tanswell brought up there, he was talking about, we still got people coming and going. They don't know if they are, if they're not. We're still waiting on things to happen. Dominoes to fall, etc., etc. That's got to be quite unsettling for players playing football.
Yeah.
So once that all calms down, hopefully that will be a positive for us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the transfer window needs to shut, doesn't it? It just feels like it's just a bit of a cloud over everything at the moment. And then once it's done, once Europe, the Europa draw next week. Hopefully these sort of things, then we get a win, hopefully that then starts to build the momentum, and hopefully we look back on the first two games of the season as something that was like, well, I mean, the draw with Newcastle, it's a draw in it is fine, but losing at Brentford, I mean, Brentford, if they play like that every single week, they're going to get relegated. Like they look, but
and let's not forget, it was Brentford are coming off the back of a disappointing defeat the first game of the season. It's their first home game of the season.
Yeah.
So, everyone like it's football, isn't it? People get very het up on results so early on in the season, don't they? Like I've got Spurs fans who are now saying that Thomas Frank is the coming of Christ. So like let's just all calm down just a little bit. It's
Guardiola
obviously you
out.
want to win all the games of football you play, but remember historically, I know in recent seasons our record at Brentford has actually been pretty good. Before that, our record against Brentford was rubbish. Like it's fine. It's the Premier League. These results will happen. Obviously, we just got to pick ourselves up and go. And
the amount of Man City podcasts right now saying fire the bold fraud.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've already read loads of articles about City, for example, saying, is Trafford like the worst goalkeeper Man City have ever had? And like, it's just all blown out. Like, there was a BBC article I saw about Trafford saying, questioning his abilities. And yeah, okay, you can obviously question his abilities after a poor performance, but let's not go nuts. Like, he's only just come into the team. Like, give him a break. Like, let him just settle in a little bit.
These guys clearly weren't around for when Man City were rubbish, which they, traditionally in their history, they've not been bloody what they are now. They weren't there when Nicky Weaver stood on the ball and Dion Dublin buried it in that 3-1 win at Main Road.
Yeah.
Can never forget that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's just football the way it is, isn't it? It's like there's no like, it feels like, at least particularly in the environment that we're in at the moment, obviously with our show, it's very reactionary. I like to think that our podcast, there are many other podcasts as well, where they just like, let's calm down, let's just relax. We're 2 games in. Obviously, it's important to talk about poor performances where they exist, but like, we'll put it to bed and we move on to the next one.
Should we just go full Goldbridge?
Like, I'm broadly positive, but I think it's important to sort of like.
Should we just go full Goldbridge?
I mean, he's now broadcasting Bundesliga games, so clearly
there's a gap in the market because
I don't think I ever want to go full Goldbridge.
None of the Villa podcasters seem to be dickheads, from as far as I can tell. So there is a gap in the market for a sort of dickhead Goldbridge type, and maybe that's what we need to do, George. Oh, we are. Yeah. If everyone else around
you isn't the dickhead, if you have to say there are no Villa podcasters who are dickheads, we're exactly. Yeah, we are the dickheads of the Villa.
It's like that. It's Mitchell and Webb sketch where they look at the hat with the skull and bones on it. They're like, "Are we the baddies?" Me and you watch our podcast back. We're like, "Are we the dickheads? Are we the dickheads?"
Like, they're wearing like the Nazi uniforms, but like we're just wearing Villa clobber. Are we the dickheads?
Oh, actually, I also have to. I have to. It's calling ourselves dickheads. But somebody who was very nice to me actually today, a guy called Zach, who I met after the game, he's a big Villa fan, and he's an all Villa no Villa fan as well. And he asked me. He's mentioned your name, George, as well. Yeah, said George is a dickhead.
Very good.
Yeah. I said George is a massive dickhead. Yeah.
The amount of editing I have to do when I do a show with George. Yeah. Well, yeah, I just think, I mean, we probably are the dickheads, but I think it is important to kind of like, turn the temperature down a little bit. Just let's calm down a little bit. As I said, poor performances. I did want to ask you about Emi Buendia. Obviously he came on fairly early because Kamara picked up that knock. Hopefully it's not too serious, but what did you make of him? Because he was then subbed. Which I guess, I don't know, fitness maybe is a bit of a thing, perhaps, with him at the moment. We're still kind of like easing him into Premier League action. He was obviously on loan at the end of last season. How do you think he got on?
I mean, there was 1 or 2 glimmers of like, okay, but he looked like, do you know what was good? He used to be a little bullock. So like you'd surround him and he'd like stand up well and muscle people off the ball for his size. It was very impressive.
Sure, yeah.
Today he just was knocked off the ball a lot. His touch was off, so the touch would get away, the ball get away from him. Players would come in.
He had that chance to play in Rodgers, didn't he? Because they had that the chance in the first half.
There was and I think Buendia did play Rodgers in, and it was a good block from Brentford, in fairness, and that was a good chance for Villa. But and that was that was a Buendia ball. But overall, it felt Buendia looked. When Unai Emery says players potentially going out, watching his performance today, getting subbed on and off, I thought he might be someone who's going out because he just didn't look right at all. I thought, and I said it in the summer. I said he's had 4 years at Villa. It's like what more do we say? Like it's not. There's been glimmers, but it's not. It's 4 years now. Like,
it's hard, isn't it?
well,
Because you look at the squad now and you think if we are turning to the bench and Emi Diaz lacing up his boots in 2025 in a Villa shirt, you're kind of thinking, oh no, like this.
yeah.
He's not. It's not going to. He's not the game changer, is he?
No, it's nothing against him. But
he's a decent player.
He was signed to be a game changer in the Dean Smith era when we were aiming for mid-table. Totally. That's not what we're aiming for now, and it just feels like the club has grown beyond it. But then the club has grown beyond one or two players there. But the nature of financial rules, I mean, we can't sell them, we can't improve. So what do we do?
Yeah, exactly. Very true. Yep. Oh dear, are we staring into Goldbridge territory, Frankie?
Yeah. So it's where we were meant to go, George.
It's where we meant to go. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen. Let's put that game to bed. Let's put the game to bed. I'm very excited to move back onto the spicy question, Frankie. So this is where you take it up from here.
Okay. Well, George.
Okay.
Things are about to get hot on heavy here at All Villa No Filler HQ in this, the spicy question. Georgios, is PSR... God, I'm so sick of talking about PSR. But let's do it. Let's just do it. It's the question that won't fucking go away. Georgios, is PSR killing the game as we know it?
I'm going to sort of play devil's advocate a bit when it comes to this. Like, PSR was brought in with very good intentions, and it was basically, just kind of like save clubs from themselves and save clubs from poor mismanagement, poor ownership,
Portsmouth,
and to some extent to try and Portsmouth. Yeah, exactly. They wanted to avoid a Leeds situation. They wanted to avoid a Portsmouth situation. And other clubs obviously have been affected by overspending and plummeting through the leagues and almost.
We were it. We could have gone out of business under Tony Gia. Because we'd blown all our money under Randy. We were it. We were that club.
Yeah. Totally. And I suppose, like, given the fickle, we're speaking about PSR and it being killing ambition from the perspective of a club now, which we feel are obviously very well run. We feel like we have competent owners, ambitious owners who do want to invest in the club and want the club to grow and compete at the top level. But I guess the nature of finances in football is always quite flaky. Investors come and go. Interest from investors will wane, as we found with kind of Randy Lerner. And so, you could have a 1 year where you feel like you've got good owners, and the next year all of a sudden you've got bad owners. So that can change very quickly. So I kind of do understand. I do understand to some extent why they were brought in and why they still exist. But I think when you compare it, I suppose the problem I have is that is the disparity between clubs. So it prevents clubs like us spending more to try and get to the levels of, Man United, Man City, Arsenal. But they can carry, but because they've already reached that, those clubs have already reached that top level where they got the constant revenue coming in because they've got all that success because they spent money before PSR came in. It feels like the drawbridge has been closed. So they're now there. They're not moving anywhere. They can spend because their revenue is so high. But if we want our revenue to get high, we have to spend money to get to that level. But we can't. No, neither can Newcastle, neither can anyone else below that level of club. So yeah, that's the current situation, isn't it? And it's just lucky that clubs like Chelsea and Man City, who came from kind of our level, I guess, or lower, were able to spend so much money before the rules prevented them from doing so to get to that point when the revenue streams increase and they can remain as successful for a long time, whereas for us we can't. We've missed the boat. We can't do that now. So
completely. Yeah, I mean, it's very nuanced. It's not completely black and white, I think. On the one hand, there's some noble reasons for it to prevent, Aston Villa potentially going out of business, which we nearly did, or Sheffield Wednesdays of the world and Portsmouth and whoever else. But the real reason I think it probably came in was Manchester City was the reason it came in, because Manchester City was spending to such an extraordinary degree, having 10 years, 8-9 years after what Chelsea did, that it really was a threat to the sort of more established order. But on the other flip side of that, it's like, well, you do have to have some kind of rules in place, because in the end, if this, to me, this has always been the crux of the problem. Authorities allowing nation states to own football clubs is why there is a problem. That is fundamentally it. Why have we allowed nation states to take over football clubs? Manchester City can spend whatever the hell they want back in the day.
But I suppose, the Newcastle are in that position, but they aren't allowed to spend money.
Yeah, but
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They've taken.
And precisely my point is that, the reason these rules came in really is because a nation state took over a football club. And technically, you could argue Chelsea were a nation state-owned club, because Roman Abramovich doesn't get the go-ahead to own anything unless it goes through Vladimir Putin. So Russian oligarchs are effectively the Russian state, if you ask me, really. But Man City were explicitly a nation state-run club, as are Newcastle now. And if PSR wasn't there, well, then Newcastle, when they had their takeover, would have just emulated exactly what Manchester City did. When Man City had their takeover, what did they do? They targeted Everton, they targeted Aston Villa, and then 2 years later, when they got better, they targeted Arsenal. What did PSG do when they got taken over by Qatar? They targeted Barcelona, right? They bought Neymar for 200 million quid. And then you've got Newcastle now. Newcastle would have looked at Aston Villa and gone, at the time we were sort of, as we are kind of now, quite level pegging, and gone, well, Ollie Watkins is their best player. But do you know what? We'll just go and spend 80 million quid on Ollie Watkins, and we'll give him a contract. And this is the problem, the contract with Saudi Arabia, doesn't matter. Let's just give him 500 grand a week. And then it just raises the draw, all the wages everywhere to a level that, fundamentally, no one can compete with nation states. They can't. And then on top of that, you've got various different things. You've got multi-club ownership. See what Chelsea's doing in Blueco. I mean, how that's allowed, I don't know. We do it as well. I mean, we're multi-club, aren't we? And then, so nation-state ownership, multi-club ownership, all of it is just clearly leading to some sort of issues. So now you've got kind of a rules in place that kind of are preventative of just football going absolutely mental. But unfortunately, now we've got the Club World Cup, which I think is live goal football, and actually the wolf at the door, which they're going to put once every 2 years. And the fact that it's run by Saudi or funded by Saudi Arabia, what do you think Saudi Arabia is going to want? They're going to want the Club World Cup in Saudi Arabia, and they're not going to be able to play it during the summer, so they're going to play it in the winter. So the Premier League is going to get stopped, and they're going to go and play that. And then all the top clubs in Europe, because of the money out of it, will want to go and play in the Club World Cup every other 2 years. And I'm saying Aston Villa probably themselves will want to be part of it. And that actually, to me, is the big, the Club World Cup is the biggest danger, I think. That I just don't think enough people are aware of it, really, of what's coming with that. But and it's going to be biannual, and then it'll be yearly. That's what I think will happen within the next 10 years. But yeah, I mean, but then so I'm just giving a sort of a whole context of why PSR is there. And I fundamentally think nation states are partly to blame for it. But yeah, and now unfortunately it's led to a context within, I'm kind of sick and tired of listening to, pundits on wider football podcasts when it comes to Villa saying, oh, just be more like Brighton. What are you talking about? Brighton only get to sixth every 4 or 5 years. They've got a genius in charge, an actual genius, data genius. It runs the club. Not every club's going to have a data genius running the club. And not everyone can be. There can only be so many Brightons, right? There can only be so many. So I think what obviously needs to happen is there needs to be some kind of revolution within the rules themselves, because you can clearly see that it doesn't feel competitive, doesn't it? Right now, it feels like there's only so far certain clubs can go. You know, Everton will go and buy Tyler Dibbling. Maybe they'll have a brilliant season. Maybe they'll get Europe. They'll do Europe for 2 years, and then lo and behold, they've made 60 million losses, and they've got to go and sell a load of players. They can't compete, and that is just going to be the same old thing over and over again. So it feels to me like maybe you increase the loss limits. Maybe you do that. Or maybe somebody a lot smarter than me can work out a way in which you could change the rules and revolutionise them to make them feel a bit fairer and prevent kind of what now just looks like, well, Man U had a few bad years. Tottenham have finished below Villa 3 years in a row. And, you know, there's some, and then just go and buy over the want. Doesn't matter because they've got the revenues. And like football based upon what accountants can do and what revenues can do, it fundamentally gives an advantage to clubs that are already were in the top 6 arbitrarily in the year 2010 when FFP came in, and also clubs that are based in London because they can build bigger revenues because they've got a sort of richer local population, I guess, and most of them have bigger stadiums. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
Am I the dickhead, George?
I think if you're asking that question, Frankie, you know the answer.
Have you got any whiskey? Got any whiskey there? You probably need one after that.
I'll send some your way, and I'll have some myself. It's as a Villa fan, Frankie. Clearly, it's a depressing fact of the game that you want to. We had such an amazing time in the Champions League last season. In fact, all the stuff that we've been talking about, it makes it, a bit of a minor miracle. The fact that we managed to get there in the first place and to go so close to making it, 2 years on the bounce, that would have been absolutely phenomenal, really. But for a terrible refereeing decision at Old Trafford last season. But yeah, I mean, all of that does make it extremely challenging for a club like Villa to consistently be up there year after year. And what we might find is, after 2 or 3 seasons of us competing in the top 5, top 6 of the table, there's going to be a drop off where we start falling down the league a little bit. I hope that's not the case. I mean, in terms of how we are run, as I've said, we are a very well run club with a fantastic manager and a very, very decent squad of players. Probably the best squad of players we've had in the Premier League era. But a very depressing show. All good things. Football is cyclical, and I wonder how long we can sustain this relative success. Well, particularly if we now feel, because of the issues we've discussed, we can't go further. Is this the ceiling? Do we whack our head off this like a balloon and just sort of bob down again? I don't know. I hope not. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we, I mean, look at Man United. They've had terrible years. Tottenham haven't had particularly good years recently.
Yeah, exactly. And they've spent money and still been terrible. So it goes to show that money isn't everything. You need to spend the money you have wisely.
I mentioned Brighton. I mean, you do have to look at ourselves as well and think like there were deals we did, and I've repeated myself ad nauseum about it, but the Gerrard Perslow last year, which were just Leander Dendoncker on a massive contract. And I think something else that I think's sort of unfortunately gone against us that's out of our control is that it feels like the nature of transfers has changed rapidly within the last 2 to 3 years. So it feels like players that, like, suddenly I saw like Eberechi Eze got signed by Arsenal for 6-7 million quid, 27 years of age. I saw someone literally say in an article, he's 27, so there were some concerns about resale noise. And I thought, 27 years of age, and you're worrying about that? It's quite amazing. And I think Ivan Toney was a good example of that, where I think Ivan Toney, at the age of 29, when he left Brentford on a free, in the past would have just gone to Man United. Alex Ferguson's Man United and probably scored 25 goals for them in a season and they won the Premier League. Then maybe he'd have gone to a Liverpool or an Arsenal, whoever. Last year, the only option for him was Saudi Arabia. I mean, he could have dropped his salary demands probably and got a deal somewhere else, but for what he wanted, the only place for him was Saudi Arabia. And that largely is probably because he's a 29-year-old and people don't want to take on those contracts now. And you think 29, you're like, that's not like
Totally,
retirement age. Bloody hell, like, and it feels like we've kind of
and also, yeah, just we sell-on fees, sell-on clauses have become a massive thing as well. So you're constantly trying to protect your asset, even after they've gone. You're still kind of looking at. I mean, this may or may not be true, but I've seen it. Even Alex Moreno had a sell-on
for
fee inserted into his deal with Girona. I mean, he's 31, 32. I mean, I don't think. But yeah, you just like every little, you're still just trying to rake in income just where you can from any source, and that's the nature of it. And as you said, Frankie, the transfer system has changed dramatically,
and very rapidly.
From the fact of from a Villa perspective, we sort of we seem to be signing a lot of young players, farming them out on loan straight away. Almost, and we're signing them. It feels like with the mentality of not ever wanting to play them for Villa. They're just commodities. They're just sort of like people that you feel like won't benefit us for where we are right now, but will benefit other clubs to the point where they will pay the money for them. That it's really weird. I like like Lewis Dobbin as an example, or I forget the name of our Turkish centre back we signed.
Ozcan.
They don't have I mean, they're not going to play. Even Garcia potentially. We can never find a replacement to Matty Cash because we're signing all these young kids that we'd never want to. Either Emery doesn't feel like they're going to make the grade right now, so he's like, okay, well they're young enough to sell on to someone else, and we'll just put in the sell on fee. So when they're improved by another club who will play them, we'll get money when they sell them to a bigger club.
Yeah,
it's very strange. It is all very weird.
I think we
and
saw it
this summer in the last couple of seasons. This kind of strange policy.
Yeah, and we saw it this summer where you couldn't sell Emi Martinez. I feel like Villa, the fact he's crying on the last game of the season at Tottenham. Clearly, the idea was that he might have to go because of the salary. And the world's number one 2 years in a row, nobody came in. And he's in his 30s. You got Ollie Watkins,
because I guess the only clubs that want, with Martinez, it's similar to the Tony situation, wasn't it? That he's an older player, and the only clubs that are willing to pay his wages and pay a significant transfer fee would be the clubs in Saudi, and he said he didn't want to go to Saudi. So that's it then. So no one else in the Premier League or anywhere else would pay his wages what he wants or pay the transfer fee that Villa would demand.
The transfers, and like Ollie Watkins now as well. You think who's going to spend 50, 60 now? Like genuinely, because he's going to be 30 this season. It's just mad. It's mad how quickly it's changed and how difficult that sounds to navigate for everybody. It feels like the only teams that are going to be able to navigate that are like the top teams who just buy all the best young players. It's weird. It's weird. And I feel like that's a byproduct of maybe the financial rules and possibly the rise of the Saudi Arabian League as well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's weird. It's depressing. And that is all Villa No Filler. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
I thought you were talking about me.
Well, that is true. Weird, depressing, and a dickhead. Frankie Maguire.
Is that what's going to be on my gravestone?
Well, listen, if I outlive you, Frankie, then and I'm in charge of your funeral, and I obviously intend to, then I'll get my chisel out and I'll be dickhead. How do you spell that again? D-I-C. Yeah, spell that in. Chisel that in to the granite. Right. It's been a weird show, Frankie. It's been depressing. Let's hope Villa bounce back with a win and a goal, for goodness sake. Is our black kit cursed? Can I just end on that final note? The final depressing note. Is it like the grey Man United kit of 1996?
Yeah.
Should we just bin it off?
The sleeves are a bit grey, aren't they? Maybe you can't see each other's arms. Let's just wear the third kit next week. Put the third kit on. Hope
the third kit is fine. I saw the weird trailer for it with Ollie Watkins flying up in the sky and Unai telling him to come down or whatever. That's fine, and it's white. We can see white. Let's just play in the white kit. Bin off the black kit. It's cursed.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. I've been your host, George Zielinski. Frankie, catch you later.
Catch you in a bit, George, and maybe we should bring back the Muller kit from the 90s. Maybe that'll make a difference. I don't know. Hopefully,
yes, please. You know my feelings on the Muller kit. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, on that more positive note, if that does happen, that would be nice. It's goodbye from me. We will be back again soon. But until then, come on, Super Aston Villa.